Earlier this year, during the first Direct of the year, there were rumors about a Zelda for 2019 coming. This got my hopes up that it was going to be Breath of the Wild 2. Well, we still got this. Instead of Breath of the Wild 2 coming out, we got Link's Awakening. At first, I was honestly disappointed. I thought it was going to be Breath of the Wild 2. But as time went on, I accepted the game and eventually got interested in it. I was already getting it since I hadn't played a 2D Zelda game yet, only Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time. And this is actually the third Zelda game that I beat, but the 8th Zelda game that I've played. A while before this, I tried to beat A Link to the Past, but I got distracted with Smash and a bunch of other games that I had never had the time, and I started Link's Awakening a little bit over halfway through A Link to the Past. I came into this with pretty casual expectations, just A Link to the Past with better graphics basically, although I did hope that Link's Awakening would also come with A Link to the Past remake since it was retailing for $60, and to be honest, this game surprised me. I mean, we didn't get the A Link to the Past remake coming with this, which is kind of disappointing, but I wasn't really expecting that good of a story or really fun gameplay, to be honest, because Link's Awakening seemed like it was going to be basically a smaller version of Link to the Past with better graphics, but I'm glad to say this game was a lot more fun than I expected, and I'm really glad I got to play this.
Lost in dreams, we sleep on, tossing and turning. Stay with me, by my side, never leave. But if the worst comes, if someday this sweet reverie ends, we two are memories.
1993. It's a while after A Link to the Past came out, and everyone is excited for whatever the next Zelda game is going to be. Will it completely change the formula for the franchise like the last two games did, or will it be similar to the first Zelda game? Turns out that they revealed the newest Zelda game, Link's Awakening, on the Game Boy. This confused a lot of people. What was this? What happened to Zelda the character? Holy shit, a Mario character is in this? Well, A Link to the Past completely changed the Zelda formula and set in stone the formula for like the next 26 years, until Breath of the Wild. Link's Awakening proved that the Link to the Past formula was the new normal, and even though it was basically A Link to the Past on the Game Boy, it was still revolutionary. Link's Awakening was the first Zelda game to completely ditch the concept of Zelda, and I think we all have to give it credit for that. While other Zeldas tried new things, Link's Awakening was completely ditched the entire concept of Zelda. Then there was also this whole train ride thing to showcase the game where people got to try out the game and beat it under 3 days, but nobody really gave a shit about that. Instead of taking place in Hyrule, this game takes place on Koholint Island, a mysterious island that Link shipwrecks on after what I'm assuming is after the events of A Link to the Past. I honestly don't even know. I haven't memorized the Zelda timeline yet. So basically, the character of Zelda is almost completely ditched from the entire game, aside from a mention of her name at the beginning. This also proves that the game's creators' creativity stretched even more when they were out of Hyrule. They would do this a few more times in the next coming years. This was also the first game to add in cameos from other Nintendo games like Mario and Kirby. There were Chain Chomps, Goombas, and even a Kirby as an enemy. While this game was forgotten by a lot of people, even everyone who played it remembers it as one of the most revolutionary games in the Zelda franchise. 26 years later, a second remake was made for the Nintendo Switch, where I, along with many other people who weren't around when the original game came out, got to play the game. And I have to say, forget what I said about Astral Chain, this is honestly the best looking Switch game. Just starting up the game and staring at that toy-like art style is just beautiful. The colors are so drastic, and it doesn't seem like it was a game that came out on the Game Boy. Well, there aren't many new things, and really the only new thing is the Dungeon Sorta Maker. The remake is just the best retelling of the classic story Nintendo could have put out. So, Link's Awakening has a pretty simple story, similar to like a Mario game or an older Zelda game like the first Zelda. Link washes up on an island shipwrecked, and he's told that he has to wake up the Windfish so he can get off the island and go back to Hyrule. He goes through a bunch of dungeons, la la la, hits the goddamn cuckoo, run from it, kill the final boss, wake up the windfish, bam, traditional Zelda on Switch, even though we already had A Link to the Past like a few days before this remake came out, but whatever. The opening and closing cutscenes of this game are just amazing. Some of the best cutscenes for a game I've ever seen. Just the hand-drawn anime style of it just really makes me want a Zelda anime. Not like Breath of the Wild where it's CG anime, like an actual Zelda anime. Like just put it on Netflix or something. That would be really cool. And the closing cutscene after defeating the boss, the island fades away. And to be honest, it's kind of heartbreaking. Some of the characters you really kind of get close to, and they just all fade away, and it turns out they weren't even real at all. And the somber music in the background is just so eerie. And the look of the windfish kind of made it look like a lesbian, but whatever. It was a really good game, but like it didn't have a great Zelda story, like compared to Ocarina of Time or anything like that. But it still had a pretty good story. This was probably one of the most fun Zelda games, even to say that it was more fun than Ocarina. Like I said, I came into this with really low expectations, thinking it was going to be A Link to the Past with less story and better graphics, but to be honest, this game is fun as hell. The dungeons are super creative, and same with the boss fights, just wandering around the map and adventuring is just a blast. Even some of the fetch quests in the game are really fun because Nintendo puts a little bit of creativity. For example, there's this one where you have to find a chain chomp, the Moblin Stole, you have to take it for a walk and then eventually stumble into the dungeon. And then the chain chomp can also help you while you're trying to find the dungeon. Sometimes while you're fighting, the chain chomp will eat a monster, kind of funny sometimes. Another one of my favorite part of this game is got side-scrolling sections. I don't know what it is about these sections, but something about them is just super fun. The boss fight with the anglerfish is honestly my favorite boss in the game, as easy as it is. Like, I didn't even need to try on that fight. All I did was just spam the B button and that was it. And over the past few weeks, I had such a hard time putting this down and going to sleep, staying up till like 1 or 2 a.m. on the weekends just playing this game. I'll even say that this game tops Breath of the Wild in some cases. Graphically, yeah, hell yeah, obviously. And the dungeons feel like less of a chore to do. There was always that sense of mystery in whatever the next boss or dungeon was going to be, and I really felt that here, where in Breath of the Wild it was just, oh look, it's the next dungeon, do the fetch quest, solve 5 oddly easy puzzles, and then fight the boss 4 times, where you can't tell the difference between any of them. The only one that sort of broke from this was the DLC dungeon, where instead of 5 terminals to activate, there's 4. Oh yeah, and there was also that fucking awesome boss fight at the end. Meanwhile, in this, none of the dungeons felt too long or too hard, along with the bosses. Some of the bosses, you might have no clue what to do, but Luigi's Mansion did that too, and that's number 3 on my favorite games of all time list, which is not coming anytime soon. So really, aside from a few frame drops every once in a while and some really cryptic hints on what to do, there aren't many flaws in this game. The dungeons are super fun, the story is pretty good, the graphics are just phenomenal, and it controls perfectly. Also, the music is just beautifully orchestrated like a traditional Zelda game, and it'll have songs that fit the mood perfectly. There's even like some orchestrated remixes of A Link to the Past songs. It might not be Breath of the Wild, but it isn't supposed to be. It's supposed to be a traditional Zelda game that's still fun. Yeah, it's cryptic, but there's the internet just looking in the face saying, give up, you can't figure the puzzle out. So, I guess feel free to give up if you need to, I guess? But back to the music. This game not only proved that Zelda can still make great music, and honestly, have they not proved that yet? Because Link's Awakening has some great tracks, even though the most significant of these is the Windfish theme, which is the iconic track of the game, but yeah, it's a Zelda game. The music's good. What did you expect? Even Skyward Sword had great music. Also, we can't talk about the gameplay without talking about the Sword of Dungeon Maker in this, which is really the only new thing, which isn't a bad thing because so many people this generation haven't played this yet, and some who were brought into the Zelda franchise with Breath of the Wild haven't actually experienced a real Zelda game, but this is their chance. Like I was, a lot of people might be disappointed that this isn't Breath of the Wild 2, but just, like, wait a year or two, you're good. It's coming, they confirmed it. Again, don't be disappointed that you haven't gotten Breath of the Wild 2. So back to the dungeon Sword Maker. Basically, you can mix up the rooms in the dungeons and create your own personal hell. And you going through hell ends up being worth it in the long run because you can make your friends suffer through hell too by saving the dungeon to an amiibo. And if you have a Link's Awakening amiibo, you can even put the Dark Link in it and just hope for the best. So yeah, this was basically a test run for the Legend of Zelda Maker game that we know is coming, but for some reason haven't gotten yet. So Nintendo, I know you aren't watching this because people would actually watch my streams if you guys did, but for next year's Zelda game, I want either of these three. My most wanted is honestly the Zelda Maker. I want to try Mario Maker stream montages, but the thing is that I'm not good at Mario Maker or making stages, and nobody watches my videos, but a Zelda Maker I'd actually be kind of decent at. And just playing the remakes Dungeon Maker is super fun, and I would love to have this. Obviously in second place would be Breath of the Wild 2, but since I can't really stream this and it's only just been announced that people are working on it, it's probably not going to happen, which is why Zelda Maker would be my first. My third is a collection of all the 3D Zelda games, basically bundling Wind Waker HD, Twilight HD, Ocarina 3D, and Majora's Mask 3D, with Ocarina and Majora's Mask being put into HD or at least ported. And just to throw in a little bit of luck, and since these games are old now, just throw in Skyward Sword HD in there, then this would probably be worth $60 because you can get all 5 of those games put together for around $70, but like, yeah, Nintendo isn't going to do that. But if Nintendo really wanted to push the bar, then make it $100. I'd honestly be fine with that. But throw in an amiibo or two, like maybe a Skull Kid. That would be pretty cool. Or some amiibo that goes over all 4 of the remakes, like a Fierce Diary Link. I know Fierce Diary doesn't go over all of the 3D Zelda games, but a Fierce Diary Link would still be really cool. And then just call it the Master Collection or something. I have a bunch of other ideas, and I don't even want to go through them because I have like 50 of them written down here. Yep, that's 50. Yeah, no thanks. I value your time. You guys have seen my 100 subscriber special. But back to the game. It's fun. It has no microtransactions. It's not Mario Kart Tour. It's a good game. It's not any Nintendo mobile game except for Pokemon Go that's garbage. Yeah, it's a good game. No shit. Overall, Link's Awakening is honestly a really needed remake, which we just never knew we actually needed it. The Dungeon Maker is a welcome addition to the game and will hopefully lead into a full-on Zelda Maker, or at least a Dungeon Maker. The game is really, really fun, more fun than it has any right to be, and the music is some of the best in the franchise. I recommend this game if you haven't played a real Zelda game and want to try a traditional Zelda game, because this, A Link to the Past, and Ocarina of Time are honestly as traditional as it gets. I also recommend this if you don't like how open Breath of the Wild is and want to play something more safe, I guess. So, I'm just gonna go into the out of 10s. The graphics are a 10 out of 10. I'm honestly all for this new art style. The gameplay is a 9.5 out of 10. It's really fun, but it's super cryptic sometimes, and that can get pretty annoying, and it gets really tempting to look up a guide. The story is a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it kind of gets you sad a little bit at the end, but just, it's not Breath of the Wild type, like as good as Breath of the Wild, or as good as Ocarina's, or as good as even A Link to the Past. Again, story is a 7 out of 10. It's fine. Music is a 9 out of 10. Self-explanatory. I mean, the only reason it's a 9 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10, like the only track that I can find on my playlist here is the Ballad of the Windfish song, and the controls are a 10 out of 10 because this game just controls perfectly. And for an extra add-on for how many things it tried new since it was a remake, the amount of new content is like a 9 out of 10, since I feel like we could have done more with amiibos, and we could have had the Dungeon Maker more open-ended. And that averages out to a 9.1 out of 10, and I can kind of agree with that, but I'm going to give Link's Awakening an 8 out of 10. And I feel that like there have been just slightly better games that came out this year. And definitely coming out right after I played Astral Chain, well, that kind of hurt it, but not too much. I definitely recommend buying this game to help the cause for making a Zelda Maker on Switch, because, well, when they do that, I will be their day one to buy it. So, I'm Kim Josh June. Thank you all for watching. Bye.